The wonderful thing about a delicious peanut butter cookie recipe is that you can turn them into all kinds of different things. That's what we're gonna do today. So I'm gonna take a regular, delicious peanut butter cookie recipe, turn them into peanut butter and jelly cookies that are beautiful, taste delicious, and so much fun to make. Welcome to the Salted Pepper, where we cook for real life using real food and we keep it real simple. Today we're gonna make cookies. So peanut butter cookies are one of my absolute favorites, but they have to be a certain kind, meaning they have to be good. They have to taste peanut buttery, they have to be crunchy on the outside, they have to be a little soft and chewy on the inside. And this is a recipe that I've been making for years and years and years. It turns out perfect every single time. But this year, I wanted to do something a little bit different and turn them into peanut butter and jelly cookies. Now you might think, yeah, Louise, that's no big deal. You just put out the cookies on your tray and you put your finger in and you put some jelly on top. Except that's not what we're gonna do. So let's get started with making the peanut butter cookie base. I'm gonna use a stand mixer. You could absolutely do this with a hand mixer. You can even probably do it by hand if you wanna put some elbow grease into it. But the stand mixer makes it really quick and easy, so that's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna start with the creaming method. I'm gonna cream together my butter, peanut butter, and sugars. I have a 1/4 cup of salted butter. You could use unsalted, that would be fine. I have a 1/2 cup of peanut butter, and I do recommend using the store-bought sort of processed peanut butter for a peanut butter cookie recipe. It's just gonna give you the best results. I have a 1/2 cup of brown sugar. This is just light brown sugar, but you could use dark brown sugar if you like, and a 1/2 cup of white sugar. So let's get those into the mixer and start creaming them together. I'm gonna start off on low speed and then I'll go up to about medium speed once everything's combined to really get it nice and creamy and combined. Once everything looks like it's well combined, you're gonna lift your mixer up or move your bowl, depending on the kind you have, scrape down the sides, and then just blend together for another 1 to 2 minutes on a medium-high speed. Okay, that looks good. Now put in 1 large egg and about a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And go ahead and turn your mixer on medium and mix that up. All right, that looks really good. Now, what I have here is 1 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour, and then I have a 1/4 teaspoon of fine grind sea salt and a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. And I'm gonna combine those together here. And then just give them a mix around so that it disperses through the flour. We're gonna add about a 1/4 cup of flour at a time. Keep the mixer going on low-medium speed, and we'll incorporate all the flour, scraping down the sides of the bowl 1 or 2 times. All right, that looks good. Now I'm gonna remove this bowl here and just sort of scrape the bottom a little bit and make sure there's no flour left on the very bottom. All right, that looks great. So what you should end up with is a sort of stiff dough. And you do not need to refrigerate this dough before we form the cookies. In fact, I recommend that you don't, unless your house is really, really hot and you see that it really starts to get harder and harder to form your cookies. I do it right now though, because then we need to refrigerate them for about 30 minutes so that they harden up so we can get the perfect cookie when we bake it. All right, I'm gonna put this over here, grab my tray. I'm using the Ninja Foodi XL oven, which is a convection style countertop oven. I'm gonna use a temperature of 400 degrees when I go to bake these cookies. You can use any oven that you like. If you're not using convection, you may wanna start your cookies off at about 425 degrees and then drop the heat if you see that they're browning before they're fully cooking. All right, so let's get to making the cookies. All right, so you want to get your cookie tray, whatever fits in your oven. This one is a quarter pan size, which fits in the Ninja Foodi XL oven perfectly. And I have cut a piece of parchment to fit in the bottom. You really do need some sort of parchment or a Silpat for making this recipe because on occasion, the jelly might start to leak out of the bottom a little bit and you don't want that crystallizing on your cookie sheet because it'll be really hard to remove and then tough to clean up. So definitely cut a piece of parchment that will fit. And then you could make them right on the cookie tray, but just so you guys can see a little bit better, I'm gonna move my parchment here and then transfer it to the cookie tray before we refrigerate it. All right, now I've done this recipe, oh my gosh, I think I made it like 5 times because I kept having problems with my jelly falling out of the bottom like I just talked about, and either the jelly to peanut butter cookie ratio wasn't right. There was all just kinds of little things that you need to kind of work out when you're creating a recipe. So when I tell you what I'm doing, it's from experience. You can choose to change that up however you want. But the best result I got was when I used 1 tablespoon of cookie dough on the bottom, half of a teaspoon of jelly in the middle, and then half of a tablespoon of cookie dough on top. So let me show you how I do it. Just take 1 scoop of the cookie dough here. This scoop is 1 tablespoon, so it makes it easy, but you could use anything to measure that out. So I'm gonna do 8 on this. I think that will be fine. I've done 6 in the past, but I think I can get 8. So just take 8 of these little balls that are a tablespoon each. Put 1 there. And of course, the amount you can get on your tray will vary based on, what size tray it is, obviously. All right. All right, there we go. Now you want to press the cookie dough balls down to about, I would say 1.5 inches to 2 inches, okay? I use a tart shaper to do that. You could use your hand, it doesn't really matter. I just go down and kind of press it down a little bit. All right, that looks good. That's about 2 inches. That's what you want to do for all of them. All right, they look good. Now we're gonna add in our jelly center. What I'm using is just plain old grape jelly because that's what we know and love from childhood, right? So we're gonna do peanut butter and grape jelly cookies, but you could change this up. You could use any type of jelly or jam that you want. What you don't want to do though is use preserves that have actual fruit pieces in them. It's going to be really hard to keep the cookie top from cracking when you have little pieces of fruit. So I don't recommend that unless you want to blend it up. If you have preserves on hand, you want to stick them in your blender to blend it up so that all of the fruit is pureed, then you can certainly use it. All right, so we're gonna use just the jelly today, and I want 1/2 teaspoon per cookie. So I just sort of take my 1/2 teaspoon measuring spoon here and use a 1/4 teaspoon to kind of help me because I wanna guide it right into the center here. I wanna kind of keep it right there. It makes it easier when you go to put your top on, your cookie top. All right, so once you have all of your cookie bases and the jelly put on, now we make the top. So I use the same scoop and I go in and I get 1 tablespoon of the cookie dough and I break it in half. I like to put a half of a tablespoon on top. I found that that gave the best cookie to jelly ratio. However, it is easier to use a full tablespoon and just pound it out like this and then make your cookie. But I live on the edge, so I'm gonna stick with the half. But you do it however you wanna do it. So I just roll the ball of cookie dough together, break it in half, and then roll it again. I really wanna get it nice and warm and pliable, so that's why I'm rolling it with my hands. I find that that helps. And then I just press it down. Doesn't matter how thick or thin this is, the better it covers and drapes, the less likely it's gonna crack. So I'd make it about the same size. Even though it's half the amount of cookie, I make it about the same size so that it's thinner on top, because I thought that just gave a better bite, and it helps drape it over. Now, if you have any cracking, try to push those cracks together and then drape it over the top like that. Push these sides in a little bit, okay? That way, if any cracking starts to happen, you have like a little dome here that's gonna help hold it together. I know I'm making this sound like they're hard to make. They aren't hard to make, but I had so many fails that I just wanna share with you all the things that I have learned along the way so that your first try works out well. And that's it, okay? Now we make the decoration and we go along the edges here and we just use a fork and just make those little crimps. Sometimes it's easier to just move your whole parchment. And if you have any little cracking on the top here like I do, just a tiny bit, don't worry about it, okay? It's gonna be just fine. Even if some jelly leaks out of some of them, they are gorgeous and still delicious. So do not sweat that. All right, one more time with the other half of a tablespoon of the cookie dough, just press it down until it's about the same size as the bottoms. And then we drape it back over. Push it towards the center so that we can kind of play with it and make sure it doesn't crack too much. I just press the edges down and then I go around and decorate with my fork. And there we go. And then if I have any cracks, I just take my fingers here and just sort of push them back together. It will set up in the refrigerator, and I'm gonna repeat that for the rest of the cookies. All right, so once you are all finished topping your cookies and they're all pressed down, now we're gonna get them back onto the tray and into the refrigerator for at least 30 minutes. 60 minutes is even better. You can also do it overnight. It's perfectly fine. All right, while those cookies are in the refrigerator to chill, I wanted to go over a couple other variations because, those cookies take a little bit more time to put together. And sometimes you might not have that kind of time, but you can make delicious peanut butter cookies with different toppings a lot quicker. So let me show you how to do that. First of all, let's start with just a basic peanut butter cookie. I'll just put 1 tablespoon down here on my parchment. And then just take a fork. You can dip the fork in sugar or sprinkle a little sugar over if you want. I don't usually worry about that though. Press it down one way and press it down the other way. And there you go. So you can see how much quicker that is. But you're gonna end up with a delicious peanut butter cookie like this one. Okay. Now, let me show you a couple variations for a thumbprint cookie, which is essentially the same thing. You're gonna take a tablespoon, scoop out, put it down here. Now you can roll it if you want. You can use the back of a spoon if you want. You can do whatever you like, but I use a tart shaper usually when I'm making any kind of a thumbprint cookie because it puts the little divot in the center where I fill it up. But if it cracks like this, then I just kind of push it back together. You know, it does not have to be perfect. You can do decorations here if you want. So if you want to do a couple of fork prints, you can. Or you can just leave them plain. I think they look good either way. And then you could just put in your half of a teaspoon of any kind of jelly, any kind of jam, any kind of preserves, anything like that. Set them right in the middle there, just like that, and then you would bake. Now, these will bake at a little lower temperature than the other ones, so I would bake these at between 350 and 375. Even in my convection oven, I usually go about 350, so probably that's a good temperature. But if you wanted to go up to 375 and give that a try, you certainly can. All right, now let's do a couple more, okay? Let's do some fun toppings, some unexpected toppings like banana jam and chocolate and all that kind of stuff. All right, so get another couple down here. So I'm gonna start with the same basic principle as the thumbprint cookie there. And for this one, I'm just gonna add in some banana jam. And I do have this recipe. It's so easy to make. It's absolutely delicious. And I will link to it below the video for you in case you wanna make it. And then just go ahead and put the banana jam in. Oh my gosh, it's gonna be amazing. And then let's do another one. Let's do just, let's call this a chocolate button cookie. Now this is a melting wafer, and it's a white chocolate melting wafer. You could use any kind of melting wafer that you wanted. We're gonna just stick one right on the top. It's gonna melt in and give us a really pretty cookie. For this one, I'm just gonna go around the edges like this to give a little bit of a crimp because I kind of want it to be like a button, okay? So this would be a peanut butter button cookie. I'm making this up as I go, you know. Okay, next one, let's go ahead and push this one down. And we'll do some chocolate in this one. These are just chocolate chunks, and they are a little discolored, but they're still good to eat. They're perfectly fine. So I'll just put 4 of them in there. We'll see how that works as they melt and see what happens. And I'll do the same here with this one. Of course, you could get creative and do different kinds of edge designs and see how it even works, because obviously we're gonna have a little bit of spread here going on. Actually, I think 4 is gonna be too many, so I'm gonna put 3. Like I said, I'm making this up as I go. Next thing you could do, which I don't have any, but you could put obviously a little small peanut butter cup. That would be so good. And then one more is banana and chocolate, which is one of my favorite combinations. So put that right there. So same thing, start off with 1 tablespoon, make your little divot, fix your edges if you need to. This time we're gonna go with a little bit of this jam. And maybe a little chocolate on one side, and just on one side. What do you think? So kind of peanut butter, chocolate, and banana. Ooh, I'm excited. Now these do not have to be refrigerated. In fact, you probably don't want to refrigerate them before you bake them. So I will leave these out on this sheet pan. Even though I'm gonna start baking at 400 degrees, which is a little bit high for this pan, I'm gonna put them on the bottom to protect them from the direct heat. So I think we're gonna get both of them baked up at the same time, and I'm super excited about it. I have about 10 more minutes left of my 30-minute refrigeration time, so I'm gonna go ahead and get the oven preheated. Even though this style of oven says it will preheat in just, I think it's 90 seconds, I always preheat for 10 minutes because that's gonna ensure that you get that blast of heat to start baking your food right away, which is super important with baked goods. All right. So we want to go to bake And I'm going to be doing 2 layers in here, so I want to set the oven to 1 and 3. Those are the layers that I have my racks on. I don't care about the time. Like I said, 400 is what I want to do. And I'm just going to hit start and let that preheat for a full 10 minutes, and then we will get to baking up our cookies. All right, so it's been a full 10 minutes. I just got this tray out of the refrigerator, so we're going to go ahead and get them in to bake. So let me slip this tray in first here. Put that on rack 1. Put this one up on rack 3. And we are going to set our time for 14 minutes. However, usually the peanut butter and jelly stuffed cookies are usually done in about 12 minutes. And then the ones that are just flat are usually done in about 10 minutes or 10 to 12 minutes. So we're gonna keep an eye on things here. And if I need to pull the bottom rack out because I'm at a higher temperature, I will do that. And then when they're done baking, we will decorate our peanut butter and jelly stuffed cookies, which puts that extra special touch on top. All right, so it's just been 8 minutes and I'm seeing the bottom cookies especially looking like they're really done. So let's take a peek, and I think I'll get those flat ones that don't have any jam or chocolate off of the tray. Let's just go ahead and take a peek. The top ones look really good too. In fact, you could even lower your temperature at this point. All right, so these look good. I don't want them to get any more brown, so I am gonna take these off the tray. And let's see, you know what? These all look like they're done. I'm gonna get those off the tray. Let's just take a peek here. I'm gonna go just another 2 minutes, I think, with those. All right, so this is the peanut butter jelly, I should say, cookie thumbprint. This is the peanut butter and banana. Look, it just made like a little face. How cute, how cute. This is the button one. Now, if I was making trays and trays of these different kinds that are flat and aren't stuffed, I would not go at 400 degrees. You can see what happened with the chocolate. I would go at 325, 350 and cook for a longer period of time to get the best looking cookies. But we're trying to save some time here today, so we're gonna do it all at once. But man, these are looking so good. I feel like they're done and I don't want to go any further. And it's only been 9 minutes, which is just crazy to me since all my test batches have taken about 12 minutes. I mean, they just look good. They look done. So you know what? This is why we don't cook to time. We cook to looks and we cook to temperature because things vary. But these look so incredibly good. And I think they're going to be just fine. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this off. Now what we need to do is let these cool completely before we put that special touch on top and make them look super, super beautiful. All right, so once they are on the cooling rack, one thing that you may notice, and I do not want you to worry about that at all, is that the centers start to collapse in. Don't worry, that's perfectly normal. As it starts to cool, there's area in there where we made the dome and stuff with the jelly. The jelly now is more liquefied, so we had some air. As they cool, they're gonna kind of collapse a little bit. Perfectly normal. Does not affect the flavor at all. They're still absolutely delicious. And once we get the decorations on top, you'll never even notice. All right, time to put the finishing touches onto our peanut butter and jelly stuffed cookies. You can see that there's some differences here. Like this one completely collapsed in. Don't worry about it, they're delicious. This one just has a little crack. Some of them stayed a little bit puffier than others. That is completely normal. All right, so what I do, it's super easy. Just take some white chocolate melting chips, or you could use dark chocolate. You could use, whatever you wanted, really. And get a nice liquidy stream going, okay? Like that on your spoon. And then just go over them like you would with a little glaze. You could do thin lines like this, or you could do thicker. Just don't let it go so long and it'll be a little bit thicker. Whatever you like. You can go crisscross or keep it just in one area. Then let the chocolate set up. And what I usually do is move them back over to the cookie tray. You can do as many as you want at one time. So you could line them all up and just go right over the whole thing. But I'm just gonna do those two and let the chocolate harden up, and then I'll give them a taste. And we'll also taste a few of the other ones. So I picked 3 of them, and one is the one with the white chocolate button. One thing I will say right off the bat is the chocolate got too brown, and that was because of the high heat. So if you want to make this variety, definitely decrease your heat to about 350, and you should avoid that browning on the top. So let's go ahead and try to see if I can break it in half to where you can see that there's a little bit of chocolate there. What I would do with this one is probably do 2 of the melting chocolates on top of each other, just to fill it in a little bit more. That's what I would do next time. All right, cookie time. Perfect. Oh my gosh. Cookie with white chocolate. So. If I was to do that, I don't think I would go with the white chocolate. I like the way it looks, but it's a little sweet. And it kind of doesn't exactly go with the peanut butter. So I would stick with a darker chocolate or a milk chocolate for that one. All right. Banana jam. Oh my gosh, look at this. Wow. That looks amazing. That's going to be hard to beat. Oh my gosh. Wow. That is delicious. And each of these cookies were perfectly cooked. They're nice and crispy on the outside. Of course, with the jam, they're nice and ooey gooey in the middle. Oh my gosh, that was so good. All right, now for the peanut butter and jelly stuffed cookie. First, let's check the bottom. So I did not have any breakthrough, which is good. That's why I recommend doing the full tablespoon on the bottom. You can see, or I can see, I don't know if you can, but there are little darker spots right here where it might have started to want to come through, but with the higher heat of the oven, it set up before that happened. When I did these on 350, even with a tablespoon bottom, like I did here, I still had the jelly just dropped out of the bottom. So when I picked up the cookie, it was empty. The jelly was right down here and it just had fallen apart. So definitely tablespoon on the bottom, 400 degrees. Even if you cut that down after the first, let's say 7 or 8 minutes, you can bump down your heat, but definitely start out higher. All right, here we go. Let's break it open. Oh my gosh. Oh, it's so exciting. These are like the best surprise cookies. And you know what? If you don't like jelly, you don't have to stuff them with jelly. I mean, you can stuff them with anything you want. Chocolate, piece of banana in there, some banana jam, any kind of jelly or jam. Oh my gosh. All right. Amazing. Oh my gosh. So peanut buttery with a crisp exterior, just like all the other ones, and that little burst of jelly that's just a little bit sweet, and oh my gosh, it tastes amazing. And the white chocolate on top of these does not compete with anything. It's not enough to make any difference in the way it tastes. So I definitely love this cookie, love this decoration. Oh my gosh, they're so good. Okay, so they take a little bit more time to make. I get that. But once you get your technique down, they're easy and they're a lot of fun. And then when you get to eat them or serve them to your friends and family, it's even more fun. So definitely give them a try. You can stuff them with all kinds of things. And if you wanted to play around with something different, don't use a peanut butter cookie base. Try out a sugar cookie base and see if you could stuff them with some apple pie filling. That might be amazing as well. Or apple butter for a little apple pie type of cookie. So they are super fun. They are super beautiful. You can do one tray of these and then say, all right, that was enough. And then do some of the easier ones to make a cookie tray out of one recipe. That's what I love to do all the time and get creative. And I urge you to get creative too. As always, make it yours, make it delicious, and keep it real.